some beard going on where they can do that. And those things were explained to me a long time ago. And it's one of the things that didn't fit with me, and that's why I didn't continue to work with them. I realized then how evil they were.
But do you agree with me that they've gone megalomaniacal? They're insane. I mean, they've got a plan.
It's always been that way, Alex. Believe me. They're just as crazy. I mean, look at all the operations, paperclip, things like that. Normal people don't do those kind of things. Taking some of the wickedest people in the world and involving them in your counterintelligence operations and your government. You're taking advice for them, and then you arrange for them to live happily ever after.
And then you hire the former head of the Stasi to set up Homeland Security.
That's right. And he was the first one that should have got hung. He's responsible for the death of thousands of people. 70% of the people in Eastern Germany were spying on each other. I know. I used to spy on them.
Well, people better just start however they can, whether it's quietly or openly, better start resisting this system, because if it comes in, boy, I tell you, can you feel it, though, Bob? Not just intellectually, but can you feel like the tremors?
I feel the tremors more with the military, which is so positive, than in any other area. 70% of the people in the military are for Ron Paul. I mean, doesn't that tell you where they're coming from?
Doesn't that scare the New World Order?
Oh, they can't tell them, go over there and pick all those people up and put them in a truck and take them to that camp over there. They're not going to do it. It's an illegal order. And then you're faced with, as the military, and I'm not talking about...
Stay there. Got to go to break, Bob. Tell us on the other side. We'll get into the economy, phone calls, and more. Stay with us. A little over a year ago, I need to get more into the news here with Bob Chapman. He was making a point about the military as we went to break. Terror suspect arrested near U.S. Capitol. Police say a terrorism suspect has been arrested in an FBI sting operation near the U.S. Capitol while planning to detonate what he thought were explosives. They've had like 100+ cases of this the last 5 years where they set up the mentally ill patsy who's out of prison and thinks he's recruited by the jihad. And I'm glad the feds are doing this instead of doing another Oklahoma City or so. But, I mean, I'm not glad. I'm being sarcastic, but it's better than them doing big actual attacks. U.S. Capitol Police say their offices and FBI offices officials arrested the man Friday in a sting operation. This is all on the heels of hearing that Iran is going to attack the U.S., so we need to go ahead and attack them. And you've got Clapper, the head of the national security, the head advisor, saying we need a provocation, and all the troops massing. This is really creepy. But finish what you were saying, Bob Chapman.
Well, I think in the final analysis, once given illegal orders, what's going to happen is that the military is finally going to say, no, we're not going to do that. And then that's time for a coup. And that's the way I think it's going to come about. Because people have just found out with the Republican primaries that there are no elections. They are what they want them to be. They're all rigged. I mean, so outrageously that a 10-year-old can identify the rigging. It's incredible. And so if we can't get Ron Paul in legally, I think that's what's going to happen.
Well, undoubtedly, we're entering one of those phases like right before World War I or World War II. I mean, there's no doubt all of this recession, depression, all these little wars, they're not little if you're in them, but they're little overall historically. It's all hurtling towards massive collision. And the Pakistanis with their 100 nukes are lining up with the Russians and the Chinese. The Russians are threatening. The Chinese are threatening military action. The West is putting al-Qaeda forces into Syria, so the Pentagon got caught. So now they're saying, yes, we want to warn al-Qaeda is infiltrating the opposition in Syria. Thus they can have their cake and eat it too. I just think the globalists are hiding in too plain a view of people that are actually thinking out there. Sure, the average dumbed-down citizen can't find their feet, can't find their hands in broad daylight, But those people don't count. They're going to suck their thumbs regardless. The thinkers now finally understand that we've got terrorists running the government.
And that we're now in serious trouble. And they're identifying that finally. You know, long ago on this program, you said they're fearful, the enemy. And the reason is that we're breathing down their collars. And we talked about Brzezinski at that program.
By the way, he just came out with a new book. He just came out with a new book and said one of the big things facing the elite is the worldwide awakening to them.
They're in serious trouble. And we're going to make it much worse for them.
Well, that's the issue, is we need to understand, folks, it's all a confidence game with these people. The fact that 70+% of the military donates to Ron Paul and not the other people, despite all the tactics they've used, that means when the globalists pull a false flag in the future or other things, it's not going to have as good an effect to get everybody in line as it did before. And then the next time, it's not going to work at all. They're running out of bullets. They're running out of propaganda. They're running out of credibility. People don't believe anything they say anymore. But they still are going ahead like they're in control, Bob.
And, you know, people in special operations are questioning the orders now. You know, you remember you heard the commentary from Jesse Ventura, the things he used to say to his fellow SEALs. Look, this is wrong, blah, blah, blah. And so what happened? They're starting up again. Whole units are discussing the problem. I mean, you know, we're supposed to defend America, but how are we defending America guarding poppy fields?
Well, the SEALs now know that they were put on that helicopter to get rid of the rest of SEAL Team 6 and blew it up. And so they got upset, so the brass came in, special operations, and said, maybe Al-Qaeda got a bomb on the helicopter. And they're like, you never cram us on an old National Guard helicopter. Turned out the story they were going to save people wasn't true. I mean, they just killed them. I mean...
That's right. And this is the kind of people you're dealing with. And the people in the military need intelligence from us probably more than anybody else. And that's why I've been doing the Marine Disquisition for 8 years. And I'll tell you, I love doing it. I'm a veteran, and I'm giving a little bit back.
Well, it's all, yeah, we've been run out of the United States. We'll be right back with phone calls and more news.
We're on the...
Ideas. Well, no, those that don't care about society, they are the fools. You watch your own little children lowered in the ground. Continuing here, this is out of the San Antonio Express News, and we've got Kurt Haskell, one of the survivors of the underwear bomber, who did, in his victim statement, expose that it was a government operation and that the patsy had either been threatened with his family, like we've known they've done, or is a mentally ill crazy. He confirmed the government got him on the plane. They had to admit that on C-SPAN and congressional testimony. Again, a month and a half after we had him on. That's big news. The Detroit papers carried it, AP carried it, but it never made a big national story. It was there. Undersecretary of State said, yes, we were ordered to get him on the plane and give him a visa and all this stuff by an unnamed U.S. agency. And just like they cooked the bomb, trained the driver, gave him the detonators in the first World Trade Center attack. And both men were on welfare. One was retarded. The other was mildly retarded. One had like a 80 IQ, the other like a 72. And, I mean, I could go out in Austin and find a mentally ill or brain-damaged homeless person or somebody kicked out of the state hospital. They're everywhere. See them talking to themselves, very sad. Sometimes I do give money to people that are absolute schizophrenics. I don't give money to people just trying to get money that are panhandling. But when you see some guy with one leg who's completely, you know, out of their mind, and you could see feces running down the backs of their legs in 110-degree heat, and they're going, water, water, water. Yeah, this is not an Academy Award-winning actor. This is a completely crazy person. I've given him $50. But that's a side issue. I'm now digressing. The point is that's the type, I mean, I could go out today, hypothetically, I would never, the news, Jones planned to hire homeless for terrorism. I could go out and find a mentally disturbed person, and in a matter of hours probably, but undoubtedly in a few weeks, give them money, give them stuff. They did that with a young group of black Rastafarians. Most of them were homeless. Some of them were mentally handicapped in Florida. Remember back in 2006, They were going to wage jihad. They were actually Christians. And it took the FBI a year, giving them a big house, money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Said, we want you to dress in camo. Want you to say you're a jihadist. Here's another 10 grand. And they said, well, give us more pot. And then they busted them all and sent them all away. Just get them to say, yeah, I'm going to blow up the Capitol. Yeah, I'm going to create the simulation of the terror threat to take your rights. But it's a lot better than what they did on 9/11 or Oklahoma City. So, I mean, sending patsies to jail is bad, but I want to thank the feds. Of course, I'm being sarcastic, for not doing the big events. They're not doing the big events because they know we're watching. They're going with the patsy event. But we brought this up to Kurt Haskell, and we'll get into talk about it when he's on with us Sunday. I'll be live on the Sunday show, 4 to 6. And by the way, we're selling out. It looks like it's going to sell out up in Dallas at the Lakewood. Get tickets at Infowars.com/events. There's a link to the Lakewood Theater subpage where you can buy the tickets. Jim Mars is going to be there. I'm going to speak. Premiere a film. I'll tell you the name when we get there. They're spitting it out and finishing it right now. I've got to approve it right after the show. We've been working on it for a few weeks. Special, like 40-minute film. And I don't do a lot of events. And Orlando's definitely going to sell out. It's like 80% sold, and it's a week plus away next Sunday, the 26th. So if you want to come out, please do that. But Infowars.com/events. If you want to go there and get those tickets. And I think they're going to hold like 5% of the tickets back for at the door. But, you know, officially say it's sold out with 95% of the tickets sold. But we brought this up to Haskell, and we'll talk to him about it Sunday. And he said, no, I don't think I'll sue the government. He still may, because it's just all going to be collapsed. There won't even be courts pretty much then. And I said, and Rob Dew's like, why? Because I sent Rob Dew up there to interview him just 2 days ago. He was in Michigan ahead of this ruling. And he said, well, read this San Antonio Express News article. So we've got it. And it says the two serve as co-chairs the National Commission on Fiscal Responsibility and Reform, an 18-member bipartisan group created last year by President Obama. The commission has warned that if the U.S. doesn't do something about its deficit spending, it will become a second-rate power. Well, but the banks want us to be in debt, so they're going to bankrupt the country. Simpson said the U.S. owes $15 trillion, to the bankers, almost 7 times the deficit in Italy, which currently is the crisis because it owes $2.6 trillion, which is banker fraud. And then it goes on to say, Simpson said the commission members differed on when they thought the tipping point might come, but no one thought it would be more than 2 years away. And this is from December 14th, 2011. So this is a year ago, more than a year ago. And Haskell was saying he's read this whole government commission, which says we're going to completely collapse, basically. Well, yeah, they're getting ready for that. Bob Chapman, what's your take on that?
Well, I think over and over again, we get the same results, the same take on things. Will the court system be there? Am I going to get justice? There's a lot of factors, and it causes people to back off to go against the government. I recently saw a company that wanted to go after the government in regard to naked shorting in the market. And some of the best attorneys in the country said, don't do it. You're not going to get any justice. And will you ever get to court? So it's the same thing.
And that's how societies collapse, is because the criminals show that they can engage in any crime. And now they're just saying all over the country you can't have your own well water. Where you're like, but I have a land right going back 100 years. I have a water right. And they're just like, doesn't matter. We're sending police. Maybe you're like, but the law. And they're like, take it to our court. That water belongs to whatever new water baron just took over. I mean, it's just like, that's the way it is. And our ancestors went through this same stuff on water rights and used to have to, have brush wars. And I'm not saying it should go to that, but I mean, the crooks are going to come in and tell you that you're their slave, and if you bend over and kiss their ring, they're gonna do it.
They'll get away with anything they can get away with. And the people aren't watching and listening, in total. And so they don't do what they should do. They don't respond when they should. They just say, well, gee, it's this, that, and the other.